Pastor Scott. Good one. And you know what? It's just not the same.
You are right, it is not the same. You are going to be so excited about this announcement. Forest Park Church is opening on October 4th, about 6 weeks from right now. We're going to have 2 services, 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. We've taken all the precautions we need to. We've got spaced out chairs, we'll have masks, we'll have hand sanitizing stations. We'll do everything we can to keep everybody as safe as possible. And guess what, parents? KidVenture is open as well in the 11 o'clock service. So you can bring your kids to the 11 o'clock service if they want to participate in KidVenture. We'll also have our nursery available as well. So please let your family members know, let your friends know. October 4th, we are back at Forest Park Church. I cannot wait to see you.
So, like Pastor Scott said, we're going to have our first service back on October 4th, and I cannot wait to see you all here. We've got the chairs spaced out, we're preparing, and it's going to be a really exciting Sunday. So make sure to come on October 4th for our first Sunday back, and we're really excited to see you all. Before we continue in the service, I want to ask the question of the day. So right now in the comments, I want you guys to answer, what is the best pizza topping? Write it down. Maybe it's pepperoni, bacon. I know there's some people who are into the pineapple and ham thing. Personally, I think that's an atrocity for pizza, and it's just wrong. So don't. But if you want to say that, go ahead. But right now, again, answer the question of the day. Let's keep the chat going. And what's your favorite pizza topping? The best one of all time. Also, don't forget that September 6th, we're having our last outdoor service. It's going to be under the pavilion, and we're really excited to worship with you outdoors. It'll be, again, the first Sunday of September, which is September 6th at 10 a.m. We'd love to see you bring a chair, bring someone, and worship with us outdoors before we get back indoors in October.
You are going to be excited about today's interview. I have with me today Blair and Lisa and Thad Forehand. They are friends of Lana and mine, and we have been friends for many years, and it's an honor to be able to sit down with them and speak with them today. Today we're going to talk about parenting, we're going to talk about marriage, we're going to talk about how do you fit marriage and parenting and church attendance and all the different things all together. And if you are married or you've been married, you know that that's a complicated journey. And if you have kids, it even complicates it more. So I just really wanted to sit down with my friends and just talk a little bit. Hopefully you will learn, you'll be encouraged and challenged today. So let me go ahead and introduce to you who we are going to talk with today. Blair, Thad, and Lisa, great to have you guys today. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming and sitting down with me. I wanted to take a few minutes and just talk with you guys and just kind of find out what it's like to parent. You've got your daughter Blair with us, but you also have a son. He's not here today. And are you here, Blair, because you're the favorite?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Okay. Or is that because Blaze didn't want to be here?
I'm the favorite, actually.
Yeah. But you have a son who's 14. Yes. And where is he right now?
He's at home.
He's at home. Playing video games.
I asked him to play Warframe. He said no.
Oh, I understand. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here, Blair. And we'll ask you some questions in a moment. Let's kind of get a little background of who you guys are and how long you've been here and all that. You guys have been at Forest Park for about 15 years, is that right?
Close 13. To it. Yeah.
13 years. 13 years. Okay. And so that's a long journey here at Forest Park. And we've got to know you guys and watched your kids grow up, and you guys have watched our kids grow up. Right. So we've kind of been friends for a while. And you guys have been married how long?
18
years. Okay, so that's a long journey as well. And you've raised 2 wonderful kids.
Thank you.
So that's awesome. All right, so someone would take a look at you guys, from a distance. They would see a mom, a dad, 2 kids. You guys have got great jobs. Blair just started a brand new job here in town. And they might think, wow, that's a family that's got it together. That's a family that's figured out life and figured out parenting and marriage. I mean, you guys have been married almost, 20 years, so that you guys have got it. But if someone got up close and personal with you guys and followed you around, listened to your conversations, read your text messages back and forth. Not a good idea, right? And they did all of that. What do you think maybe people would find out about you guys? What would be some of the kind of behind the scenes truth about your family and your marriage?
I think if you dove beneath the surface, I mean, I really feel like you find out that, we're just like you, pretty much. I mean, we go through struggles. I get upset at both of these two ladies. They get upset at me too. I'm not.
Who gets upset at each other more often?
I think I'll verbalize it.
Oh, you verbalize it more.
I think he
Okay.
keeps it to himself because he knows it'll make me upset.
Right.
Me and Blairs.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, we're not much different than somebody a family that might be looking. I don't feel like we've got it all together. We've just stuck around for time, and here
So
we are.
how do you stick around for time? I mean, 18 years, and unfortunately, as a pastor, I see a lot of marriages fall apart. I see a lot of marriages that just crash and burn. And when I see someone who's been married almost 2 decades and raised kids and still moving forward, I know it's not perfect. I know that behind the scenes there's stress and all that. So how do you work through that? Give us an idea of something you do, maybe something different than maybe some other people do. They could kind of pick up that piece of advice or a little piece of wisdom. How do you guys keep going?
I mean, we didn't really start out like your perfect family.
Okay.
Lisa and I were not married when she became pregnant with Blair.
All right.
And we found out when she was pregnant when?
I just know that we got married 12 days later.
We got married 12, so Blair, we found out Lisa was pregnant, and then we got married 12 days later.
12 days
I'm
later.
sure probably 75% of the people at the wedding were like, oh, this is a waste of time, this isn't lasting.
Oh, so they probably thought it wouldn't last.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
sure.
I mean, I'm speaking for them out of my own.
Right.
Like, I'll show them. I'll stay married. Watch me. No.
Yeah.
But
Was it tough at the beginning?
well, we had dated, so it wasn't. It was tough with my mom in particular. She was pretty much the only one that really wasn't on board with what was going on. It wasn't. It's kind of like, it wasn't keeping up appearances. Kind of like
Right.
we're talking about now. It's like
Yeah.
it was more about appearances for her. We couldn't be a perfect family unless we got married first and then had kids.
Yeah.
So
Well, I know you guys, as we mentioned, have been coming here for quite a while to Forest Park. So obviously, church is important to you. So I'm just curious, before we get into kind of how you do it today, what was your church background? Did you guys both raised in church? Did your parents take you to church when you were kids? What is your kind of experience with religion growing up was like?
you can start.
Mine wasn't traditional.
Okay.
I mean, everyone in my family believes in God, and there was the presence, but not the routine of going to church.
Okay. So you went sometimes, and sometimes you didn't.
We didn't have a church, but maybe I would go with my aunt or vacation Bible school.
Right.
But that would be it.
Okay. What about you, Thad?
I was raised church every Sunday. I went to a Shiloh Baptist Church, just in Camden County. Every Sunday, Grandma and Granddaddy went there. Their mom and dad went there. Grandma went every Sunday. She went Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday. Did Eastern Star, taught Sunday school for 70 years. So
Wow.
we would go to church every Sunday. And then after that, they lived right behind the church. My dad was actually raised across the street from the church, and my grandparents built a house behind the church. And so we go to church on Sunday, walk over to Grandma's house and eat lunch, some of the best meals ever, and then go home. So it's like it was.
Okay,
we
so
did that.
church was in your life as a kid every week.
Yeah,
And
Sunday
Lisa, with
school.
you, it was not. It was somewhat sporadic. Okay. So I know you guys well enough to know that church is important now in your life, and you want both of your kids to at least have the opportunity to make, Christianity or church a priority.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you, over these last, 18 years, instilled faith, some tradition, importance of church attendance? How have you done that with your children?
When we first came here, obviously this is not a traditional church, so we
What
just
do
came
you
here-
mean?
Well, I mean, I thought all churches you had organs and choir
right,
robes and stuff like that. But we came here the very first Sunday, and here comes this guitar out here, and it's like, can't play music like that in church.
Right,
And your message, if anybody's ever heard it before, it's not a religious based message. It's more of a follow Jesus type message. And I really felt like, if we were in this area and we wanted to go to church and expose our child and soon to be children to that, we wanted a message that we agreed with, and we found it, and we never wanted to go anywhere else.
Well, Blair, let me ask you a question.
Oh,
Okay,
gosh.
you can't just sit there, right? You got to be part of the conversation.
But I can.
No, I got to ask you. Got to ask your thoughts on this. So, your mom and dad, when you're a child, obviously very little, kindergarten, you don't have a whole lot of choice. If the family goes to church, you got to go to church. You can't stay home by yourself. But as you started to get older, I'm sure that there were probably some Sundays, maybe even still, that you just don't necessarily want to go or what. So how did you respond to mom and dad's desire for you to go to church on this particular Sunday, or get up and get dressed and let's go?
Well, I'm sure there were days where I was like, please, dear God, just let me stay home.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with it now. If they're like, hey, we're going to church this morning, I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
good. So it at the beginning it was a little tough. One of the reasons I asked that is because, I've learned, obviously we have 3 kids, and Evan's now 26, Ashlyn's 22 and 23, and Cameron will be 21 this year. So we have now adult, kids. And I remember when they were little, they didn't necessarily always want to participate in all the things that their mom and dad were doing, because as pastors, we're here all the time. And, we went through a few years, we had multiple services, 4 services on the weekend, and they were often here all day on Sunday. And then if we had anything else going on in the week, they were here because they were too little to stay home by themselves. But I've learned over time that once a habit is formed, it's difficult to break. Well, that's certainly true with bad habits, but it's also true with good habits. And I think a habit gets formed when kids are little, and hopefully that habit will stay around for years to come. So now, Blair, when you were a child, you didn't have much of a choice. Now you have a little bit more of a choice. So you could stay home, probably much easier today than you used to. But yet I see you involved. I mean, I see you involved in our student ministries. I see you involved in different areas of Forest Park. You obviously came today for the interview. You could say
Did I
no.
have a choice?
Yeah, you certainly
Always
did
have
have
a
a choice.
choice.
Yeah. Now, has Chris? Here's a big question for you, Blair. Okay, then we'll let your mind kind of settle a little bit. 'Cause
Gosh.
what would you say is maybe the hardest thing for you when it comes to Christianity and church and religion? Where's kind of a friction with you a little bit?
Ooh. I think for me, like the first most obvious answer that comes to the top of my head is like finding that balance between like my sexuality and Christianity, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you like the same gender and you're a Christian, that's not allowed,
Yeah. So how do you file that? Where do you put that? How do you deal with that when so many people sitting in church are going to look down on you or judge you? How do you process that?
To be honest, I try not to think about it.
Okay.
But I guess I just got to remember that Jesus sat with the weirdos,
Right. And that's you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's got to be a difficult journey to kind of walk through when you feel like not everyone, but many people are judging and looking down. But I highly commend you for having the courage and the bravery to be who you are and find who you are and walk that path and continuing to follow Jesus and learning and growing and becoming the young lady you are. And one day you'll be able to instill traditions in your kids that your mom and dad have instilled in you. They'll probably look a little differently or whatever, but it'll still be there. So that's a great thing. Well, Thad, Lisa, how challenging is it for you guys to raise an independent young lady here? And I'm sure Blaze is going to have his own independent streak in life and want to do his thing, but she's got maybe some views in her life and some things that she follows that might not necessarily be the way you see things, and I often see that when it comes to politics, especially.
Yeah.
Sometimes our younger generation sees politics much differently than mom and dad. They also see religion differently than mom and dad. So how have you guys been able to parent someone like Blair who might see life a little differently, God a little differently, religion a little different, sexuality a little differently? How have you guys been able to process that and walk through that with her?
We've always known that Blair is unique.
Okay?
She's always been challenging from
You've always been challenging, Blair.
Always.
a baby.
Always.
I mean,
So you're saying literally from just a small child you knew that there was a uniqueness there, a challenge there.
We didn't
Yes.
know to what extent, but we
Okay.
knew that, she was different. So I get a phone call at work. I was working at the YMCA then. I don't know where you were working then. You may have been
I
in
wasn't
school.
working
She was
then.
in school, and I get a phone call that said, "You've got to come to the daycare right now. It's your daughter." And as a new
Oh, yeah,
parent,
absolutely.
I'm like, "Oh, what has she done? Is she choking? I need to get
Right.
to the ER or something like that." And
So you're thinking worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. So apparently Blair decided to go to the bathroom and use the bathroom in the toilet and then stick her head in the toilet and flush it. So as I looked around to see if I was being punked or something. I was, this can't be real. So I get in my car and I'm headed out that way. I meet Lisa on the road. She just pulls off on the side of the road. We drive together, and I get up there and we get Blair. I grab her. Her hair smells like a urinal cake. So it's just, she was always doing just outside the box stuff, man. Like you wouldn't think any kid would ever do. Like she did it.
Yeah.
I would pick her up from daycare, and I would think, they have this little smiley system with 3 smileys.
Right.
And everybody else's kid had their 3 smileys every day. Why can't my kid have her smileys at the end of the day? And just,
She's
she
always
was,
been independent.
Right.
Even
and she was friends
as a little
with the
kid.
most unusual child in the class
Right.
every year.
Yeah.
And
Blair, did you realize that you were unique, or did you think you were normal, quote unquote normal,
just
or
thought-
did you notice that you were different?
I just thought it was normal,
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find yourself thinking differently than other people? Is that just kind of the why you maybe journey this way when everybody else seems to be going the other way? Do you just see things differently than the average person, or what?
I don't think I do.
Yeah.
I just kind of.
You just be who you are.
Just can't define normal, right?
Exactly.
She just is who she
What
is,
is
man.
normal?
Well, that's great, because that's what this whole series is about, is that normal is overrated, And so many of us are trying to seek normal and try to find normal, but what is normal anyway? And normal is very overrated, because none of us really are normal. We've all got issues, and we've all got struggles, and we've all got, battles that we're going through. So you find yourself, I'm very interested in you, Blair. You find yourself still, well, let me ask you guys, do you guys still see her, even, how old are you right now, I'm sorry?
17.
You're 17, so do you guys still see a very unusual, she makes unusual choices and does some unusual things today? Still?
Well,
Yeah.
she's gonna do what she wants to do, and she's really sorry that you don't agree with her thinking, but
Right.
she's gonna do it.
Right.
So I think as parents, and I'm speaking for her now, like we've really kind of, I think I pulled back. Whereas when I was parented, it was iron fist.
Right.
You're doing this at this time and at this time, and if not, then you're losing everything, or you're getting a spanking
Yep.
or whatever. I really, and you can correct me, you can tell them I'm wrong, but I really feel like I've really pulled back as far as my parenting with her, and really just kind of let her go.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, she's a good kid, she's respectful, and she doesn't need me to badger her to do that. She just is.
Yeah.
So
there's no doubt some parents watching who, they have this definition of normal in their mind, and their son or their daughter ought to do this or should do that, and their son or daughter is going a different direction, and they're feeling stressed right now, especially a single mom or a single dad, and maybe they don't have that partner to kind of buffer and play off of. Talk to them for just a moment. They got a son that's going a little differently, or a daughter a little differently, or maybe a son or daughter who is exploring their sexuality and it's taken them a much, in a further, a different direction than what grandma and granddad wants them to do, or even their church. What's your advice to them? What would you say to them right now?
Well, for as much as Blair has challenged me, because I'm in charge of education at our house, so I've always had to deal with talking to the teachers, and I mean, she's expanded my mind, and I've learned a lot from her. And now that she's older, I will talk with her about things that are happening in the world, and it's really cool to see someone who thinks like her, to get her opinion. And so I love that she's unique.
Yeah.
Because,
So you would say to that parent to just embrace that uniqueness.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Rather than resist it, fight against it.
You're not
try
gonna
to get
change 'em.
right. Try to get
I
them back
think
on this normal path.
Your
over
child
here.
wants to know that you love them regardless of
Right.
the way that they think. And I think that even though Blair knows that I don't agree with everything that she agrees with, I feel like she knows that I love her. So,
Yeah, that's great. So how do you stretch your mom and dad's thinking? Is it through movies, books, websites, things you see or read, or how do you kind of challenge them a little bit?
I guess it's mostly just through like conversations. Like my mom, she really loves like getting my opinion on stuff.
Yeah.
And then she'll be like, let me play devil's advocate with you.
Right. That's great. See, that's a wonderful little tool there to just get into your child's mind and let them tell you what they're thinking, because they have opinions. And you're 17, and yet you have no doubt some very strong opinions about many things going on in our world. And a lot of times parents never take the time to find out what their 17-year-old's thinking. They assume that they're not thinking, and I just got to tell them what to think. And the reality is there's a lot more thinking underneath than what you realize. And if you would just take some time to tap on it, knock on the door, let some of those opinions come out and get to know your kid. Well, let me ask you another question, Thad. How are you processing watching your daughter move into adulthood, watching her become an independent young woman?
I feel like
How is
you're trying to
that
make me
journey?
cry here. That's your goal.
Yeah.
I would say it's easy and difficult, and the reason I say that is because it's easy because I feel like she's been an adult since she's been like 7. She's really,
Oh, yeah.
She's just as far as we talk about her, she's unique, but she's also kind of an old soul. She likes flowered print shirts, and she'll wake up early. I'll see her sometimes in the morning. She'll go to bed sometimes before me. So it's easy in that
17
respect.
going on 40.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Love it. But it's been easy doing that, but it's difficult too. And as far as like any parent, thinking about, okay, my child's going to leave now. The time just goes by so fast.
It does.
It's like all of a sudden it's like, man, I'm the old guy here, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out what's relevant through my child here. Or I'm gonna lose touch with modern stuff. So it is difficult. It really is. And as a child, when I was 18, I couldn't wait to leave home because it was so strict at home. I couldn't wait to go to college because I would finally be able to make my own choices, and which didn't necessarily result in in a lot of great things that I did. But now that I see it as a parent, I see why my parents was like, "Oh, we don't want you to leave," because I was actually kind of glad that the pandemic kept her home with us for a year,
Right.
because she was all set to go
That's
to
true.
UNC Charlotte
Right.
and this she would already be there. Not trying to rub it in, but she was actually going to go to UNC Charlotte, so she deferred enrollment, so we get her at home for another year.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. So
Well, I want you to a little exercise, okay? I want you to look at Blair and just tell her one thing that you're very proud of with her becoming this young, independent woman. Just one thing. You gotta look. You gotta look.
Who
at
do
your
I gotta
mom.
look at
Look at your
first?
mom.
Look at your mom.
Your mom's gonna tell you.
I love that you're an individual and that you truly do beat to your own drum, because, I love that you're brave enough to do that. I admire that.
That's beautiful. Thad, why don't you tell her something you're proud about?
I'm proud that you think I'm the best parent.
She's told you many times.
She's told me many times behind your mom's back.
I refuse to tell them who my parent is. I don't even have
I
one.
don't blame
They're
you.
just so like they just think in their minds that I have one. I don't. So I just don't even
very
answer when they
smart.
ask.
But I'm from where I grew up in my childhood. I am really proud of the fact that you just don't care what people think about you, and you don't care what people think about you, and that is so, endearing to me that you could live life like that. Really cool.
Yeah.
Be a tissue nerd.
Well, Blair, it is obvious you are loved, and if Blaze was here, he'd be just as
He is.
as loved.
He's our easy child.
He's our easy one. Yeah, she led the.
So God had mercy. He let you go through Blair,
Yeah.
and then he gave you Blaze because he knew that you needed a break. Yeah, that's great.
Like Blair will stand me down like, you're wrong. Whereas Blaze, I can look at him and bring him to tears.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys. It's been a joy watching you guys raise your kids and just a hardworking family that love your children, love one another. Marriage is hard. Parenting is hard. Figuring out life is difficult. Everything from paying bills to dropping your kids off to school to getting science projects done to showing up to church on Sunday and serving on teams. You guys have also joined us in Ecuador several times and having to pay for that and go there and all of that. I've been able to kind of watch you guys over the years, and I'm proud of you. And I'm proud that you guys have been amazing parents and you've raised two incredible young adults, and that's exactly what they are. And Blair, you're a joy to watch grow and blossom and become who it is that you are. And it's a real joy for Atlanta and me both to have you guys part of our family, not just our church, but our family. So thank you guys for taking some time and talking with us all today.
Thank you.
Okay? You're welcome.